Hi, my name is Manch Hadbar and I'm a chartered accountant at an MNC and I have an experience of about 1.5 years.
Hi, my name is David Pinto and I'm a chartered accountant at an MNC. I have an experience of 3 years.
Hi, this is Preeti. I work with a startup. I have an experience of 5 years.
Hi, my name is Ayushi. I'm a CA at the startup and I've been working here for 1.5 years.
I remember when I was studying for CA Foundation, I was going to my coaching and I was trying to manage my college life also at the same time. So it was nice. मतलब मेरा coaching खत्म हो गया था maybe by August ऐसे कुछ. तो then I realized like I was talking to a couple of friends और sir ने भी बोला कि test series करना चाहिए. तो तभी ना I had come across this book which had like compilation of all the previous year का exams का papers, 10-year questionnaires और जो भी, and that it was like इतना मोटा सा एकदम book. ठीक है CA का है तो मोटा books is not a tension at all.
That's so correct.
तो फिर मैंने वो टेस्ट सीरीज पूरा कर लिया ऑलमोस्ट. मुझे लगता है मैंने 10 years का तो कंप्लीट नहीं किया था बट आई डिड 7-8 years and I think I could score very well in like foundation. And I think as students test is your make or break because when you are doing CA आपका देखो इतना सारा नॉलेज तो है आपके माइंड में सब आ गया है बट आप रिकॉल कब कर रहे हो जब आप एक्चुअली टेस्ट लिख रहे हो. तो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि आप टेस्ट कितनी बार करोगे अपने आप को, कितनी बार अपने माइंड को चैलेंज करोगे और उसको रिटेंशन और वापस जो भी आपने पढ़ा है वो याद आने का ट्राई करोगे ना, तो दैट कैन बी डन ओनली व्हेन यू आर डूइंग योर टेस्ट. सो मुझे लगता है फॉर मी माय यूएस लाइक फॉर मी द थिंग दैट यू नो क्रैक्ड लाइक अच्छा आई क्रैक्ड इट बिकॉज ऑफ दिस वाज माय टेस्ट and how relevant the prep was to what work I did. It gave me a base. मतलब मुझे अभी तुमको 10 चीजें पता है और तुम्हारे काम में obviously you will use maybe 3-4 और 4-5 चीजें क्योंकि हमारा सब्जेक्ट वास्ट है. लॉ हो गया, अकाउंट्स हो गया, सब कुछ स्टैक्स हो गया, सब कुछ सीख रहे हो तुम. तो आई थिंक इट गेव मी अ बेस और फिर जब मैं एक्चुअली जॉब में आई एम अप्लाइंग इट, आई एम applying 2-3 aspects of it and going more in detail कि ठीक है ये हमने सीखा था और डिटेल क्या है इस बारे में.
For me, हमने इतना कुछ बुक्स से सीखा है बट आई थिंक जो सबसे बड़ा टेक अवे मेरा रहा है हैज बीन द ग्रिट ऑफ द जर्नी कि आप इतना ज़्यादा हार्ड वर्क मैंने लाइफ में कभी नहीं किया था किसी और चीज़ के लिए. एंड वो कहते हैं ना द सिंगल हार्डेस्ट थिंग दैट आई हैव एवर डन is CA finals. Just unparalleled level of effort. तो I feel कि even though मेरे current role में शायद मैं exactly SFM के basics या फिर SFM की complicated formula या कुछ ऐसा use नहीं कर रही हूँ आज की डेट में, but one the base I agree with you. The base that I have gotten of understanding कि business कैसे work करता है, financials क्या होते हैं, costing कैसे होती है, all of those things. And the second thing is the sheer belief that आप कर लोगे. आपको अगर कोई चीज सामने एक प्रॉब्लम आएगी आप टैकल कर लोगे क्योंकि आपने कर रखा है पहले.
I completely resonate with you. CA जर्नी मुझे लगता है CA प्रिपरेशन खुद में एक बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट जर्नी रहा है हम सबकी लाइफ में एंड वो हमें हर हुक्स में हेल्प करता है बिकॉज इट इज टॉट अस द आर्ट ऑफ लर्निंग एंड इट इज टॉट अस कि तुमको करना है दैट जुनून दैट यू हैव टू डू इट एंड यू विल डू इट. तो अभी भी कभी अगर लाइफ में कुछ टफ टाइम्स आता है एंड वी हैव टू डू समथिंग तो वो रहता है अरे CA फाइनल कर लिया तो ये भी हो जाएगा.
मेरा ख्याल से इट्स रियली रेलेवेंट बिकॉज you need to sit for 3 hours and do that paper. And I really resonated with how you were saying the test. So I'm a person who likes to get up and walk around on a regular basis. I can't sit in one place. So sitting, doing the tests, those multiple revisions kind of got me patience in order to be focused for those 3 hours. Relevance hai ki I had an interview within the company. I was moving from one department to the other. The person who was taking my interview sent me the financials of the company, said read it and tell me what you think. So I think it's very relevant and it will help you even in small ways. Whatever role you move to, there will be something that has come from your CA friend.
The attempts I feel do not matter in the long run because we never come across the question that how many attempts you have survived in CA. But in short run, I feel that for certain recruiters, because there are a lot of CAs who clear every attempt, so in short run, that becomes a screening matrix for a lot of recruiters.
I think the real issue here is the start really matters, and we underestimate that, because when you tend to move to another line after 1 or 2 years, it's really, really difficult. So as much as you're behind at the start, you'll have to hustle that much more to get there later. And we really need to focus on that, because even I felt this, where because of not being a ranker, when I look at my friends who have gotten ranks, they're a lot ahead of me. And I have to make a lot more effort to reach where they are, while their effort is putting them even more ahead. So that really is something that in the long run matters a bit.
I think that there are a lot of exclusive opportunities in the market right after you qualify that exist solely for rankers, and that's a filter that a lot of top-notch companies kind of put in place, because that's just what works best for them. So it does affect the starting opportunity that you get for sure. For someone like me who wanted to move out of the finance realm altogether, I felt like the world was my oyster, because no matter where I went, I had to prove my credibility, because nobody was going to hire me because I was a CA in a role that did not require me to be a CA. So in that sense, I've also learned that every new job that you start, you kind of have to build credibility all over again with the new people. They might hire you, but you still have to kind of build credibility, and that's hard work that anybody's going to have to do.
True, and that's completely irrespective of whether you are a ranker or an attempter. So I would actually agree that in the long run, to Preeti and her, in the long run, I don't think ranks or attempts actually matter. Fine, in the start, you are getting a hike or whatever, a higher pay package. But as you progress through and as you start upskilling yourself, I think it really doesn't matter in the long run. I would see a lot of YouTube videos and उधर बोलते थे अरे ये CA को 50 लाख मिले, इसको 60 लाख मिले, and मुझे बस वो फ्लावरी पिक्चर दिख रहा था कि अच्छा मेरे को तो इतना ज्यादा पैकेज मिलने वाला है. पर अभी जब रियली मार्केट में अगर आप देखोगे, मतलब स्टार्टर CA को मे बी 7 to 11 या 12 lakhs का पैकेज है अगर आप MNCs में देखोगे बेसिक, एंड देन एज यू प्रोग्रेस आपको इवन एज अ मैनेजर आपका सैलरी कितना होता है? इट्स अराउंड I think 20-25 or plus minus basis your negotiation and how you perform.
So it's not very specific. Maybe I agree to your point that rosy picture was there at the start, but a few reach that goal because they take up that challenges. That's how I see it.
So what do you think is the startup craze, like fresher salary?
So it again depends, because there are a lot of roles which are coming up. Maybe if it is core finance, या फिर chief of staff. So these roles have different packages. I feel few startups do offer a range starting from 20 lakhs, which is not the case in a regular maybe consulting or MNC. So that's how.
But for that, I think CAs would be competing with people who are not CAs as well.
Yeah, MBAs actually.
Competing with the MBAs and that.
Yeah.
So that's a completely different level where you're not thinking as a chartered accountant. You're thinking as a leader, as one of the cream of the country, whether you can get those top jobs.
Correct.
So I think that would probably be different from what we'd be expecting as a normal CA. I definitely had the experience where I was a little bit shocked. I remember after clearing, I got completely disheartened, saying, wait, I was promised so much, I'm not getting it. And I got used to it after that, because then I'm grateful in a way, because then I realized that you can improve yourself and you can earn more on how much effort you make. And that really does work after a while. Although sometimes you're going to be a couple of bad increments, sometimes you may not get the jobs you want, but I think on the long run, you will learn that the more effort you make, there is no end where you can get as a CA.
मेरा experience startup में ऐसा रहा है कि I feel starting में the pay is at par to what I would get in, let's say, MNC role में या किसी और startup के role में. The added benefit is the ESOP component of working with a growth stage startup, because you're working in a company that maybe is not getting you that brand value today, because if I tell you about the company I work with, you might not have heard of it.
Correct.
But if we talk about MNCs, everybody knows कि अच्छा हाँ नाम सुना है, घर पे सब जानते हैं इस कंपनी को. So that brand value difference is there, but what makes up for it is आपको जो रोल की फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी मिलती है, बिकॉज जितनी छोटी कंपनी होती है उतना ज़्यादा आप generalist role expect कर सकते हो in terms of the avenues that you can pick up, the projects that you can pick up, especially in my role I have felt this, and the growth is disproportionate if you put in the hard work, is something that I have experienced.
Pick up on the point that you said the growth is disproportionate. That I think is something that in MNCs you'd be a little more uncomfortable with, because everyone always does have a hierarchy and they do have a set place where you can get promoted. Even if you're excellent, you will still have to follow that hierarchy, which I think that's the difference between MNCs and startups, especially growth-wise.
So because मैं startup में काम करती हूँ and जब मैंने join किया था तो around 150 लोग काम करते थे वहाँ पे, अब हम करीब 300 लोग हैं. So जब आप इतनी छोटी कंपनी को join करते हो, so the designation aspect of it is not written in stone. हमने अभी हायरकीज की बात की, वो उतनी वेल डिफाइंड नहीं होती हैं छोटी कंपनीज में. सो द स्टार्टिंग डेजिग्नेशन एज वेल एज द रोल दैट यू ग्रो इनटू is something that grows with you, like you grow with the company in a way. So there is no set designation as such, and that's kind of part of the thrill. You get to figure out where you are going, where your career is going with the company itself.
So on designation, when I see from a startup lens, it is more like people are here very dynamic in the sense कि अगर आज आपको एक रोल के लिए हायर किया है and कल there is a requirement in some other role, and if you are adaptable to it, if you can pick that up and drive it, so that's how it's not just vertical or horizontal, it's the mingle of both.
That makes sense. But I come from a thought process where you don't really know what someone's doing based on their designation. Even in an MNC, you'd be surprised. Assistant manager in a larger company could mean much more than a manager in maybe a smaller size company. And the reason is that MNCs often give designations based on what their parent company is doing, or based on the country or the culture that they're in. So that always has a difference. So knowing what someone's designation is may not really give you an idea of the kind of work they do. It's usually better to kind of understand from their bio and all of that, because designation for countries like France and Germany will be very different from the US and UK, English-speaking countries. So that's something we always have to keep in mind.
Overall, I think the attachment to the designation that you want should be very, very low. I think because it usually doesn't give the real picture. अगर आप किसी जॉब को उसकी डेजिग्नेशन की वजह से चाहते हो, तो I would request you to take a step back and speak to someone who's in that designation and understand exactly what they do before attaching a certain pedestal to any designation.
But I think that is more relevant for startup, क्योंकि MNCs में अगर आप देखोगे तो it's little structured. मतलब I know so many of my colleagues who have taken the jump, like they have not looked at the salary perspective, but they have jumped because they're getting a better designation. So I think at least in an MNC culture, it's थोड़ा defined. I agree with what you're saying कि different countries में अलग-अलग designation, अलग-अलग नाम होता है, पर startup, at least जो established MNCs है, उसमें देखोगे तो designation is pretty important if you are looking at.
But I think where that differs is different companies with startups, MNCs in India would have designations based on what their parent believes is the kind of designation of that role.
You're saying they're deriving it from their parent company
and the culture in which their parent company is based, which is very different country to country and company to company. So if you're moving for a better designation, you actually could have a role that's worse than your current designation.
I think ये mentality is for people who just want to jump, use the designation and jump for maybe a higher salary in the future.
Right.
Yeah. मेरा तो जितना expectation था वैसा ही था, because मैंने audit select किया था, तो I knew कि ये audit करना, ये FSLIs है, ये है, so it was very organized for me at least. क्योंकि अभी at least audit में मैंने देखा है कि it's very structured, मतलब पूरे processes streamlined है and all. So I expected कि ज़्यादा होगा, like where we are maybe starting out the processes and making processes, but वो already हो गया है. So अभी what I do in the MNCs maybe कि अच्छा ये process set किया है, how can we make it better? तो इट्स मोर ऑफ दैट पर्सपेक्टिव बट मे बी आप लोग बना रहे हो ना वो प्रोसेसेस या
This question takes me back to the first year of my job. So first year I think बहुत critical होता है to understand कि मुझे क्या करना है life में and what is that I'm doing. And first year में ही I quit my job. And तब मुझे याद है मेरे पापा ने मुझे कहा था कि बेटा मैं 25 साल से सेम जॉब में हूँ and this is just the first year and you are resigning. तुम्हारे जनरेशन में प्रॉब्लम क्या है? But this is how it is. अगर जो चीज़ हम दिन में 8 से 10-12 घंटे कर रहे हैं and वही हम enjoy नहीं करेंगे तो that doesn't make sense.
I am part of that team that has effectively set out these processes. जो I hope years down the line also the team, whichever team is working on those projects is continuing to use. तो वो बहुत rewarding होता है कि you get to set something up from scratch and you get to add your personality to it, you get to add your perspective to it. I think that has been very interesting. मेरी जॉब ऐसी है जिसमें जब मुझे हायर किया गया था it was a very fast process for me in terms of hiring. I had 2 interviews and then I got hired and the expectation was that कि आपको हम job description नहीं दे पाएंगे because the role that I was in at the time there were new teams that was getting set up. तो उसमें आगे क्या होने वाला है किसी को नहीं पता था. My job was to figure out a structure to the chaos and I was very happy to have that क्योंकि that's the aspect of my job जो मुझे सबसे ज़्यादा पसंद है कि okay here is a problem, figure out a solution. I love that aspect of it.
मेरा experience similar था. What happens in larger MNCs कि for 2 years they'll put you in one role, for 1 year they'll put you in another role. 2 साल के बाद बदल जाएगा and you don't know where you're going to go. It's just going to be completely different from what you originally experienced. So it's like you said, putting some structure to chaos.
जैसा मैंने पहले बोला कि स्टार्टअप्स में they are looking for more dynamic people जो आज किसी रोल में and अगर कल को कुछ और रोल required है तो वो उसमें swap कर जाएंगे quickly. So that's how the hiring process in startup is designed. And in MNCs, what I feel is it is more structured in that manner.
Yeah, definitely.
मेरे साथ भी यही हुआ था कि I was told कि आपको हम hire कर रहे हैं, we'll figure out the specifics later. So we have this saying is that we hire the person and then we figure out the role. And it works beautifully because अगर आपका cultural fitment बैठता है and you know that कि you are aligned to the mission of the company and you like the people that you interviewed with, you think you will gel well. I think that is enough to kind of take that leap of faith. It was enough for me to take that leap of faith and say कि ठीक है कोशिश करके देखते हैं. Turned out fine.
मेरा तो complete opposite है. It's very structured. Like you know which department you are applying for. You know obviously the clientele, the client base, which industry के clients you will have, that will differ. But like the hiring process is very streamlined. You know which role you're hiring. Your negotiations also. You know approx what is the salary package and all. So very.
I just wanted to know, do you have internal job postings and is that a common
definitely
thing?
So internally also usually when there's an opening for say like a manager, senior associate या कोई भी तो internally भी release होता है and समझो you want to switch to a different department, so that's always open. And of course we take internal candidates also and external candidates also.
But how easy is it to switch from one department to another?
You need to crack the interview and
But do they like taking people whose entire experience is something else?
Yeah, but you know the process of the company, you're aligned with the values of the company. So I think internal switches have happened. Like I've seen it at like a senior manager level also and senior associate level also. तो दोनों side से तो वो switches तो हो ही रहे हैं because देखो at the end that person has to fit into the company also and the values and how the entire functioning of the company. अब तुमको पता है भले तुम दूसरे डिपार्टमेंट में थे पर तुमको पता है कि ये MNC में ऐसे they expect me to work, ये ऐसे डील करना होता है कोई प्रॉब्लम से. So definitely I think internal candidate को भी preference तो देते ही होंगे, but I'm not saying कि it is disadvantageous to an external candidate. आप कौन से MNC में उस पर डिपेंड करता है और पर जनरली मैं देख रही हूँ कि हम लोग काम करते हैं भाई, 8 आवर्स तो मिनिमम चार्जेबिलिटी दिखाना होता है, एंड देन 10 आवर्स थोड़ा एडमिन हो गया या जो भी हो गया, कभी कभी 10, 12, 14 आवर्स भी हो जाता है अगर सीजन है तो। लाइक समटाइम्स मैंने तो ऐसे भी देखा है कि पीपल आर लाइक दे फिनिशिंग देयर वर्क एंड देन नेक्स्ट डे दे आर प्रेपिंग अप फॉर द लाइक अगेन, सो बेसिकली सोने का ही टाइम मिलता है, बट दैट इज़ अगेन सीजन, मतलब जब भी तुम्हारा सीजन चल रहा है तभी, फिर ऑफ सीजन होता है तो रिलैक्स भी हो जाते हैं। सो आई थिंक थोड़ा बैलेंस है भी और नहीं भी है, सो इट्स अ वेरी कंट्रोवर्शियल टॉपिक आई वुड से।
तो आपका कंपनी में 70 आवर्स का टारगेट हो गया?
70 आवर्स मतलब
Are you working 70 hours a week?
वो तो हो ही जाता है, लाइक आई मीन ओके यू आर टेलिंग अबाउट दैट नारायण मूर्ति का 70 आवर्स, अभी वो आई डोंट नो, मैंने ऐसे काउंट नहीं किया है, बट सीजन में तो इजीली हो ही जाता है बिकॉज वी आर वर्किंग सैटरडे संडेज ऑल्सो, वी आर पुटिंग इन द टाइम, क्योंकि अभी काम क्लाइंट आउटपुट इतना दिखाना है तो तुमको इनपुट भी डालना ही पड़ेगा।
Absolutely.
सो या
I think मेरा कंपनी में it's the same situation where we will always work a significant amount of time. There aren't that many days where we work less than 10 to 12 hours. Lots of weekends, unfortunately, is not my favorite thing, but it does get better. There are some days where you leave at 5 in the evening. There are other days you're leaving at 5 in the morning.
Balance.
To that I would like to add, because of hybrid work culture, मतलब first during COVID we had like full work from home, तो तभी हम लोग घर से ही काम करते थे। अभी क्या हुआ है हाइब्रिड वर्क कल्चर में, ठीक है 2 दिन ऑफिस आओ, उसके बाद वी आर गोइंग बैक होम एंड वर्किंग। नहीं तो पहले आई रिमेंबर व्हेन आई वाज इन आर्टिकलशिप माय सीनियर्स वुड क्रिप कि अरे यार 8 बजे ऑफिस से निकल रहे हो एंड ऑल, एंड आई एम लाइक अरे अभी मैं जितने बजे भी ऑफिस से निकल रही हूँ घर जाके वैसे भी काम तो करना ही है। So
I think we need to divide work culture into pre-teams and post-teams.
That is right. I think 10 से 12 घंटे is the average into this profession, and again वो depend करता है कि क्या time चल रहा है। Maybe audit में हो सकता है, it's audit season when it is for controllership roles, it is MEC, कहीं quarterly filings, so and startup में जब भी कुछ फट गया बस, हाँ it just increases that way.
For me, typically 10 घंटे होते हैं. I start at 10 and anywhere between 7 to 8 depending on the day. उस दिन कितना काम रहता है उस पर डिपेंड करता है. Seasonality मेरे जॉब में नहीं है in the current role that I am in. तो that is helpful. I don't necessarily have to extend hours, and I would say कि the work culture is ऐसा है कि वीकेंड्स वर्किंग एक्सपेक्टेड नहीं है, आपकी अवेलेबिलिटी एक्सपेक्टेड नहीं है, बट एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग है कि अगर ज़रूरत होगी तो आई एम अवेलेबल, बट द एक्सपेक्टेशन इज ये नहीं कि आप बैठे रहोगे या आप कुछ काम करोगे वीकेंड पे, सो दैट इज नाइस.
Actually, I have an answer for this.
I have an answer.
Okay, then you guys
मुझे
need
नहीं
it.
लगता CAs generally CEOs बनते हैं. Usually they are CFOs. क्योंकि CEOs के लिए mostly MBAs are selected.
No, it's not necessary. There are a lot of cases where the CAs become. The reason is that the CAs are naturally more ready for a corporate function.
Correct.
So the CEO is not only a business-based function, right? You're looking at corporate as a total. You're giving your numbers to your investors, kind of presenting. But and there are many cases. You've got like Kotak Mahindra ka latest CEO, Make My Trip CEO, many other cases like that who are chartered accountants. But I think where CAs fail is the presentation part of a CEO. Where
So
we
that's where
don't.
the MBA is trumping. Now
Haan.
he's doing so well.
But there are still cases for CAs. I think we just need to upskill and acquire skills during the time
Definitely.
of working.
हाँ, क्योंकि इंटरव्यू क्रैक करना है तो भी कम्युनिकेशन तो चाहिए. You need good presentation skills. नहीं तो आप आगे नहीं बढ़ सकते.
Absolutely, and I don't think we are taught that. We need to upskill during your work life and focus on communication at every step of the way, because we feel sometimes that as a CA you're not customer facing or consumer facing, but you are. Every person is your customer who you're working with. You just have to make sure that you're giving them the best.
And जब आप CEO हो तो आप एक ब्रांड भी बन गए हो.
My hot take is that I think अगर आप CEO और MBA दोनों करना चाहते हो और दोनों कर लेते हो, that is an unbeatable kind of a combination. So वो versus वाली जो conversation हम कई बार सुनते हैं ना, CA versus MBA, मुझे लगता है कि दोनों को club कर दो and you'll go very far in it. I genuinely feel that.
I think things are changing now. मतलब अब CAs भी वो roles ले रहे हैं, maybe startups में founders office roles, COS roles, and there is a path for going towards the CEO because अभी lately if we see yoga bar, Rameshwaram cafe, then
Even boat ka.
boat. So there are leaders in like CAs are reaching the heights of organization these days.
Actually, abhi ke liye, I feel I'm very comfortable with my MNC thing because मुझे stability चाहिए था. Like I wanted a stable job and a set structure actually in my life when I'm starting out. So right now I don't think I'm in a mind space to shift abhi ke liye. So yeah. What about you?
I think that obsession to just move to a startup during the pandemic, वो खत्म हो गया. That's not the kind of culture that's there now. Right now, it is if you want to move to a startup, it'll be because you either believe in the founder or there's something you want to create. For me personally, I wouldn't want to move into a startup unless I meet a founder who I really believe in and want to work with that person or that product.
क्योंकि कितने सारे स्टार्टअप्स खुले हुए हैं, बंद हो गए, कितने मेरे फ्रेंड्स आर मूव्ड
कितना
आउट टू
retrenchment हो गया.
वही लाइक और हाउ डू यू नो स्टार्टिंग में इट्स requires a lot of analytical skills to understand कि ये अच्छा करेगा and honestly जब आप इंटरव्यू दे रहे हो you don't have that much data to analyze it correctly.
And at times the investor they have not been able to understand which is the perfect product. So how are you as a chartered accountant going for that interview going to know it?
Correct, without the data.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
मुझे लगता है कि ये चीज हर फेज ऑफ लाइफ में हमारे प्रेफरेंसेस चेंज होते हैं, आवर चॉइसेस चेंज, एंड इन दिस फेज व्हाट आई एम इनटू, आई फील लाइक टेकिंग मोर चैलेंजेस एंड आई फील आई एम एट अ गुड प्लेस. सो अभी के लिए आई एम नॉट विशिंग टू स्वैप, बट मे बी थिंग्स चेंज इन फ्यूचर.
Never say never. So we all know about articleship, right? मैंने articleship एक larger organization से की थी where I got the sense of the structure that we are talking about, and वो पूरा experience मुझे मिला था. And at the end of 3 years of doing that, मेरा खुद का conscious choice था कि I want to go to some place that is less structured, some place where I can kind of make more of an impact, and I know and I can see the impact that I'm making. Even though मैं junior हूँ, even though I am a fresher chartered accountant, I want that say in being able to implement things the way I want to. और ये मुझे पता था कि MNC मुझे नहीं दे पाएगी, तो बहुत conscious choice थी कि मुझे एक छोटी कंपनी में स्टार्टअप में जाना है. The only thing was कि I wanted कि I am aligned to the mission of this company, कि overall हम जिस problem को solve कर रहे हैं, does that resonate with me as a person? And if it does, great. I think that's how I kind of chose this.
That's it for now, folks. I hope you all enjoyed the video too. See you all in the next video. Bye.